kind of the big ones.
Yeah. Glasnow is not off the mound, but he's throwing.
Just waiting on YouTube, and then music will be cued.
Solid.
Here we are. And 3, 2.
Bow, bow,
Bow,
bow, bow. Nicely done, Jeff Speigel. What's going on, Jeff? And welcome back to the Blue Review, presented by LAX. And LAX is changing they're changing a lot of things over there at LAX with the People Mover. And I don't have the read in front of me because I forgot to get it. So go to LAX. It's going to be great. And if Parker, if you remember the actual read, you can pop on for a second and give the actual read. If not,
yeah, head to LAX. There's changes arriving daily, and shout out to our people over at LAX. Here's my contribution.
All right, smooth start, Jeff Speigel. What's going on, man? I saw you yesterday. You had Marcus Grant from the Blue Review on with you after that massive 19-2 win.
Yeah, 19-2. It's a fun game to do a post-game show. You know, like when they lose by 10, not so much. When they win by 17, everybody hits home runs. Max Muncy is back. Ohtani 2 home runs, tied for the league lead. All we were waiting for is that game to end. So I'm in a good mood. I was up a little later than I wanted because the third base umpire didn't want the game to end. But here we are. We're back today, and the Mighty Angels on the docket today.
Yes, Mighty Angel on the docket. And that's always. I think there has to be rules. And I saw somebody put in a tweet of mine that they said that if a position player is on the mound, or no, it was if the home team is up by more runs than there are outs left for the losing team, they should just call the game.
Game ends.
What
about the sanctity of the game?
Do you want games? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but what about the sanctity of the game, Greg? 27 outs. Come on, never say never.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can do it, and we've seen it. Look, it happened this year. The Dodgers came back; they were down by 6. I think it depends on the team too. It has to be rules for like certain types of team. Like it has to be if like the Kansas City Royals are down by 10 runs, you're just going to let that go. If the Rockies are down by 15, you go, okay, we'll end this in the 7th. There's got to be some kind of rules in here, no?
Yeah, I like it. It's all. I am one of the few that loves watching position players pitch. I thought the guy last night was hilarious, running backwards off the mound. I'm genuinely concerned that Ohtani's going to kill one of these guys at some point because it's just going to be a 120 mile an hour line drive back at a guy who doesn't know what to do with it. So I'm glad. I appreciated him backpedaling off of the mound as he pitched, and he got a strike out of Ohtani. So highlight of his career, I'm sure.
Oh, it was. And I love that he kept the ball. And then really he should keep the ball, could take it over to the Dodger and be like, hey, can you just get Joe Hay to just, put a little signature on there?
Totally.
You do with everything you can. I actually love the fact that he did that.
I'm with you. Baseball's supposed to be fun. They're getting killed. But you know what? He freaking struck out Shohei Ohtani. The number of pitchers in the world who can say that they've done that is not the longest list in world history. So I was ready to DFA Ha-Seong Kim if he struck out to the position player. I was like, buddy, come on. We can't be doing this. He's like fighting off foul balls with 2 strikes. And then Ohtani strikes out. I'm like, all right, maybe we don't DFA anybody. This guy strikes out. We'll
and probably not Kim Ha-Seong as well, who's batting like 500 right now. So, okay, let's start there because there's a few things. Obviously, the game was the game. They won 19-2. It was a blowout. And over the last 2 games, they've just completely blown out Oakland. But there's some things that are going to start to happen here, Jeff, and it's going to be something like Michael Conforto Teoscar Hernandez and Jim and why can't I speak today?
Tommy Edman
are going to be back next week, and you're going to have to make some moves.
Yeah.
Most likely, you're going to see James Outman go down, right? Like I know he hit another home run, but he also strikes at a ton, and he's batting like 0-50. So, like, he's going to
starts with a 1 now. Put some respect on his name, all right?
Well, he got a hit off a position.
It's not a 2, player, but it's not a 0.
It was. Then he hit a home run, and he got a hit off a position player. So, Outman's probably going down. But what do you do with Kim? because all he's doing is just getting bat on ball. His swing looks great. His swing path looks great. He's stealing bases. He's a problem at the bottom of the lineup for a lot of these opposing teams. Is this the end of, I don't know, Rojas, who got a couple of hits, or Taylor, or is it going to be Kim because he has options going down?
This is a really, really tough one. I think if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, 100% Ha-Seong Kim is getting sent down. And I say that because I didn't necessarily believe that the Dodgers were gonna be ready to shake the boat and DFA a guy like Austin Barnes. But now they've done that. And so if I'm Miguel Rojas or Chris Taylor, I feel way less certain that I'm going to be wearing a Dodgers uniform all season than I did a couple of weeks ago. Because if they were willing to DFA Barnes, although it made a ton of sense because of Dalton Rushing, and we're going to talk about him, they have way less loyalty to a guy like Miguel Rojas. You know, Taylor's probably in a similar bucket to Austin Barnes, not quite as long, but has been here for a while. So I think I would be more worried. All of that said, however, and this is a very unpopular take, it has nothing to do with Ha-Seong Kim and how well he has been playing. It has everything to do with the fact that when the Dodgers get healthy, there is nowhere for him to play at the major league level consistently because Tommy Edman's going to be in the lineup every single day. And I know folks like yourself are not the biggest Michael Conforto fans. You don't want to hear me talk about his exit velocity anymore. 3 more hard hit balls last night, though. But he's going to be playing every day, and I think Conforto's figuring it out. And so with Ha-Seong Kim, it just does not help his development for him to be sitting on the bench 5 days a week and not playing. And so while he is definitely better than Miguel Rojas and Chris Taylor, I think they're going to opt to send him down because he has options, send him down to AAA, let him play every day. And just in case in some emergency situation you need Chris Taylor or Miguel Rojas down the road, you haven't removed them from the organization in the meantime.
So I think that stuff's interesting because Rojas is obviously not as good of a player anymore as Kim.
I would send Rojas out yesterday if it were up to me. Rojas would be the guy. In my opinion, he offers next to no value. Defensively, he is slipping. Offensively, he's not very good. So Rojas would be my guy yesterday.
So yeah, no, I'm totally with you. But the fact is, you just got rid of Austin Barnes. You were DFA'd Austin Barnes, and that was somebody in the locker room, in the clubhouse, that is somebody that people respect and listen to. Miguel Rojas is someone like that as well. I know you have differing opinions on that because of what happened in Miami with Jazz Chisholm, but the fact is he is somebody that people get along with. He's a leader in that locker room. So I think that's, if you lose Barnesy and you lose Rojas, that could be a reason not to do that. And then when it comes to CT3, he's coming up, I think it's in July, he hits his 10-year mark, and he gets it affects his pension and everything else that goes on when he hits that 10-year mark. He gets a 10-5 where he essentially has a no trade clause, which I think actually hurts them. If they let him get to 10-5 and then they want to trade him, he'll just say, okay, thank you. But the fact of the matter is those things all make a difference. So to your point, Kim probably will be the guy that goes down to AAA. I just don't think he should be the guy.
And this is the hardest thing to explain, which is sometimes your 26-man roster is not your 26 best players. It is the overall roster construction, big picture of who has options, who doesn't, who has experience, who can play what positions. If the Dodgers were simply trying to field the best 26 guys on their major league roster and not worried about who's hitting when, Austin Barnes would have been gone a long time ago. Alex Freeland would be on the major league roster, and Rojas and Taylor would both be gone. Like, that's just the simple fact. But when you can't be sent down because you're a veteran guy like one of those, the Dodgers say, would we rather keep these guys around or lose them at the risk of what happens a month from now if a couple more injuries and you need more depth in the infield? Maybe you call up Freeland, but beyond that, there's not a ton of depth down at the minor league level. So Kim is definitely one of the best 13 offensive players the Dodgers have, without a doubt. But roster construction stuff leads me to believe that he will be down in Oklahoma City. And Outman's the easy one. You mentioned Outman. I just want to agree. I love Outman, and I'm starting to lose hope. He gives me a home run. He brings me back in every once in a while, but mentally he just seems like there's a block somewhere that the guy we saw 2 years ago, I don't know what happened to him, but he's not here anymore.
Dingers, Jeff. Just like you always like to say, dingers. Like, that's what it comes down to for you. Dingers.
Yeah. Pages, Muncy, dingers.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we can get into Muncy in just a second, because that's where I want to go. But I think that's it's a great point that you're making about the roster construction, about how, if something happens, because those are both infield guys too. So if you have Muncy, Kim, Edman, Mookie, and Freddie, and that's really it. I mean, I guess you could put Kike in there. If there's injuries or anything that happens in the infield, you need a guy like Chris Taylor or Miguel Rojas to be available because you can't pull up from below. I think that's a great point, and that's just something that a lot of people, us fans, all that don't really think about. You just see Rojas, you're not any good anymore. No. You can go. CT3, you're not any good anymore. You can go. But we have somebody that you can rely on and that veteran presence and good in the clubhouse. It makes a huge, huge difference. So unfortunately, I think I'm with you that Kim, when it's that time, is going to just spend some time down in AAA. But Muncy, you did mention Muncy, Jeff, and I think that is something that he's a guy that I don't think any of us, you, me, Marcus, Parker, anybody really was like, okay, it's time to get rid of Muncy. We all wanted to wait on him, and he's starting to prove us right. It's now 2 home runs in 2 games. He also got a couple, I think he had 3 hits. He had a double in that game too. What are you seeing more from Muncy that you weren't seeing, a week ago?
Yeah, 8 for 22 in his last 6 games. He's got 2 home runs, 3 walks, and a double over that stretch. So the bat is starting to come around. Again, I keep going back to exit velocity. I think it tells a story. He hit the ball really, really hard last night. 109, 99, 96, 94 were 4 exit velocities. Also 75, and that was a single. So he's just squaring the ball up. He's hitting the ball hard. He seems more locked in. I just think Muncy is a confidence guy, Greg. I think he's the type of person that when he is dialed in and his head is in the right space and he believes in himself, he becomes one of the better hitters in Major League Baseball. I'm not saying he's fully there yet, but this 6-game sample size, he seems to be squaring the ball up. He's drawing walks. He's working at bats. And when guys make mistakes, he's doing damage. Marcus said last night, the home run he hit last night felt like vintage Max Muncy. Just absolutely smashed. Was not a wall scraper in any sense of the word. 408 feet. So home run in every park. I believe I never gave up on Max Muncy, and this is kind of why.
Yeah, and that's both of those. I would say that both of those home runs from last night and the night before both felt like, oh, that was a Max Muncy swing. And when he's going good, and he's in that 5-6 spot, it just completely lengthens the lineup and it makes the lineup that much scarier. So Max Muncy being back to as close to Max Muncy as possible is huge for this lineup, especially because, it's just all that stuff that I've been talking about, like where it gets lineup. But him in the being positive about himself, and maybe it's the glasses, maybe whatever you want to say that it is, Max Muncy being good in the middle of the lineup terrifies other teams.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about on our show last night that Max Muncy going down last year was kind of the fulcrum to the Dodgers offense falling apart. He's not the best hitter by any stretch of the imagination, but I think history tells us you could make a case he's one of the most important guys in that lineup. And so when he's in the middle and he's right, and Will Smith's in the middle and he's right, I mean, we were talking through this, Greg, there's going to be a day, knock on wood, whatever you need to do so that nobody gets injured between now and then. But you mentioned Edman and Teoscar potentially back next week. I mean, we're not that far from Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and then Muncy, Smith, Teoscar, Hernandez, Pages, Edman, like all of a sudden this lineup, and Conforto as the bottom 3. And if Conforto's starting to get right a little bit, Pages has been an absolute monster. Tommy Edman is who Tommy Edman is. Like, find me not only the weak spot, find me a guy who's not a well above average offensive player in that lineup. It's about to be scary season for other pitchers if Muncy gets right and these guys can stay healthy for a stretch.
No, 100%. This is what when you're looking at the roster build for this team in the offseason, you're like, I don't see a negative spot in this lineup whatsoever. And now you're starting to see what that is. Michael, to your point, and I want to just make this something very, very clear. I don't like Michael Conforto. However,
thanks for making that clear. I think there was a lot of ambiguity about that. We're glad we got that.
It's been that way for a while. But however, the point of a villain, you make a guy a villain, is for him to have an arc. You have to have a character arc for all your characters. And if he is the villain, he has to rise and come to a place of like, okay, this is where it's changing. His arc is now from the villain to the hero. That's how these things work out. So if he's on his way up going to the top of the arc, it's working. It's great. I've always said if Michael Conforto can start to hit and start to play well, that's good for the Dodgers. So it's good. I have very rightfully been down on him If
Yeah.
he's starting to hit, which he has been, I think that's like 4 or 5 doubles in the last 5 games. He's starting to figure it out. Now those walks that he's been getting add into themselves where he's getting on base more, having the doubles, it just feels better. Now I'd love to see a dinger out of him, just for you, Jeff. A dinger.
No, first of all, what happens to my character arc when my villain gets DFA'd in the middle of the season? There's no arc. I think they cut the storyline. He got removed from the movie and the show, right?
He actually just passed away at that point.
Yeah.
The villain
rest in peace, Austin Barnes.
It's not the Marvel universe where they bring him back to life either.
Yeah, but I mean, look, Conforto. I think there's reason to believe. To your point, you were absolutely vindicated for being disappointed in how he began the season. And I'm hoping in the end that I'm vindicated for having optimism about how the season will end. I think he's going to figure it out. But we'll see. It's not a finished product. It's not like he's fully there. He's still not, I think he was 1 for 5 last night. So hitting the ball hard, getting the double. Yes. All that stuff. Good. But he's not, it's not a finished product by any means.
No, it's not. And also he's finding his way to be hitting more ground balls again. When he was starting to figure it out, it was getting the ball in the air and everything is on the ground again, which could be spell trouble. But we haven't gotten to the other guy that we really wanted to get into today, and Dalton Rushing. Dalton Rushing made his debut yesterday and got basically all the firsts. He got the home run, or not the home run. He got the single. He got the run scored. He got a walk. He had a whole bunch of different things that he actually, I think, started and ended an inning. So that's a first for somebody as well too. He came up. Are you happy with Rushing's outing yesterday?
So first, I want to just make one comment that I thought was funny. The number of quotes post game that were like, "Yeah, we're gonna really miss Austin Barnes," but holy crap, this Dalton Rushing kid's pretty damn good, huh? Like it was like, man, if I was Austin Barnes reading some of those post game quotes, I know they were trying to be nice, but how quickly it shifted from "we're really sad that Barnes is here" to like, but have you seen this kid? Have you seen how hard he hits the ball? Like I don't know. The captain might be removed from memories here by the end of the month. Is all I'm saying. Dalton Rushing's awesome.
Just so much better this way.
Dalton Rushing's awesome. I posted this. The Dodgers had 18 hits. They had 5 home runs last night. Dalton Rushing had the hardest hit ball of anybody in the whole game last night. He hit a ball 110 miles an hour. Nobody hit one harder. Ohtani had 2 home runs. They were not harder hit than that. He had another ball hit over 100 miles an hour. Like, for people that are unfamiliar with Dalton Rushing, this guy has mashed everywhere he has ever been. He was the 40th pick in the draft, and within 12 months of the draft, he was a top 50 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. Do the math on that. He was believed, he was the 40th guy in his class, and like within 3 weeks, everyone's like, holy crap, how did the Dodgers get this guy? He's just smashing the ball. The slugging percentage, the walk rate, all of it has been through the roof the entire time he's been in the minor leagues. The problem for him was he just played the quote-unquote wrong position, the position with no openings at the Major League level. So I think this guy's going to hit, and honestly, Greg, my only thing I'm keeping an eye on is when he plays twice a week, I think he's going to force their hand. I think they're going to have to figure out a way to get this guy in the lineup, and there's a lot of debate about whether or not he can play the outfield. Clearly, the Dodgers don't care all that much how good you are at playing the outfield if you're in the corner, but I think there's a world by the end of the year where 2 days a week at catcher becomes 2 days a week at catcher and 2 days a week in one of the corner spots.
Okay, well then let's figure that out then. What goes on because you're not taking Teo out, you're not taking Edman out, who's probably going to play center especially if Kim stays up. Kim stays at second, Teo and Edman goes to center. But if he doesn't, you're fine. You can find a spot there. Who goes out in those situations? Because Conforto and Teoscar, they're your corner, and if they're going to play every single day, you have to pull somebody out in that situation.
And I think they're going to get creative with how they rotate that. I think Conforto would probably be the guy that maybe loses those opportunities a little bit more. But I could see a world where Teo's getting 1 day off a week and Conforto's getting 1 day off a week, and maybe Page's, I think you're just rotating guys. He becomes sort of this utility, not utility in the sense that he's playing all over, but you're picking spots. And maybe one day Freddie Freeman's getting a day off at first base and Rushing's playing first base. And then maybe the next day he's in left field and they rotate the outfield around a little bit to get somebody else off their feet. That's not their plan right now. All the people in the organization have said he's not an outfielder. I just think he's going to hit, and people are not going to be satisfied when he comes up twice a week and goes 1 for 3 with an extra base hit, and then he sits on the bench for the next 5 days. So I think he's going to force his way into playing time one way or another.
I think you're absolutely right. And what I love about this too is that you know that he's up and he's up for good. Like
Yeah.
the fact that they didn't bring up Hunter Fiducia, the fact that they're going they DFA'd Barnes to get him on the 40-man and bring him up, that all says that they are giving him the runway that he needs to get. And so I think that's great. I think you're right. Absolutely. I just don't know what it is. Is it something, because if you can get him into the outfield, fine. But they've been saying over and over and over again that they did not like the experiment. The experiment in the outfield. He is a catcher. We want him developing as a catcher. I just don't see how you make that work long term, Jeff. Because if Will Smith has 9 more years on his contract, and then he's your backup, is it like a 3-3 type situation, like back in the day with the Angels and when they had the flying Molinas? Like what is the move there?
Yeah, and I wanna temper a little bit, because I already know how this is going to go. Rushing's going to be awesome, and then people are going to start being like, well, let's get rid of Will Smith because rushing is awesome. Let's remind ourselves real quick that Will Smith is like the 90th percentile outcome for Dalton Rushing. I think there's a world where Dalton Rushing is better than Will Smith, and as the preeminent Will Smith guy, I don't say that lightly, but I also want to remind people that, like, if Dalton Rushing becomes one day as good as Will Smith is right now, that will be a huge, massive success and a big deal. So I don't foresee him just surpassing Will Smith very, very quickly. My read, this is just an uneducated guess, is that what the Dodgers have done is said, we want you to prioritize catching. You need to learn how to call games. You need to learn how to deal with pitchers. You need to learn how to play defense, all that kind of a thing. I think he's athletic enough to move off of catcher at some point. I think in the short term, they have just said the pathway to you getting to the major leagues and being a contributor and where we want to develop you is at this position. We want to see if you can make this position work, not because that's where necessarily your entire long-term future is, but because they didn't want to mess with the development at a catcher. Let's become a catcher first. And if by the end of this season, they feel good about where he's at, then they can start mixing in. Let's see what left field looks like. Let's see what some of these other positions look. I know people say that it was a mess. Like, he did play some outfield again this year. They moved him off of it almost entirely, but he's been mixed in a tiny bit. So I just think the Dodgers are going to need to get creative, and this guy has the athleticism to do it. I'm not saying he's going to be elite, but he has the foot speed. He has the agility. I think he's not your prototypical catcher. Like, if I told you Will Smith in a corner outfield, we'd all be like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work all that great.
I don't think that's going to go.
Rushing is more twitched up than Will Smith is, and so I think there's a world where he makes this work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's spaces, and I think that he's going to be able to find. And maybe it's even like if Freddie needs a day off or if his ankle is still bad, you put him at first base because he did play, I think, a few games possibly down at AAA at first base. So there's spots that you can make that all work. But we have to remember too, to your point, Will Smith he's batting something like 500 with runners in scoring position so far this year. And he usually starts off hot that way. Yeah. And then as he's playing more, and as happens with catchers, he just starts to wear down a little bit. And then towards the end of the season, he's really not hitting so well. So by having a guy like Rushing that can take that pressure off him, go 2, maybe even 3 times a week back there, you're going to get a fully healthy Will Smith towards the end of the year. That's a positive for this team.
Totally. And Dalton Rushing becomes your insurance at a lot of different positions, right? Because he's just one more bat that you feel comfortable getting in the lineup, to your point. If it's at first base, if Ohtani gets a day off for DHing, like, who knows what the pitching ramp up is going to look like, and if that is going to ever impact sort of him on the offensive side of things, and whether or not he needs a day off there. Unlikely, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, that might be a place he can get a game in every couple of weeks, that type of thing. So again, I believe in this guy, and I want to make a point. I've gotten a chance to talk to him a couple times. The nicest dude, like a genuinely down-to-earth, really good dude. If you saw any of the interviews last night, it only confirmed that. So he's an easy guy to root for. Dodger fans are going to love him, and I genuinely think he's going to absolutely mash the baseball at the major league level.
I mean, there's a reason that we've all been clamoring for him to come up. I think we clamor for a lot of prospects sometimes. Like right now, it's Alex Freeland outside of Dalton Rushing and Kim Hae-sung, which I just found out that's the way to say it in Korean is Kim Hae-sung instead of Hae-sung Kim. Yeah. But that's a whole another conversation for another day. But either way, I think I just love to see the youth injection that's coming into this team, because that's what we've talked about for years now, is that Andrew Friedman is so good at building from the top to the bottom. And we're starting to see all that youth come up. And now some of the older guys, the Austin Barnes, Muncy is having his, little moments. CT3, Rojas, they're going to start hitting out, and you're putting them in with guys like Dalton Rushing, Kim Hye-sung, and then maybe Alex Freeland eventually. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and add Andy Pajes to that conversation too.
Yeah.
I threw this stat at Marcus last night. Over the last 30 days, Andy Pajes is the 6th best hitter in Major League Baseball. So, and that's like the guys above him are like Judge, Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Alex Bregman, and Rhys Hoskins. Those are the 5 guys in front of him. So the 6th best hitter in all of Major League Baseball for 30 days, not a tiny sample size. And that was before last night he hit a home run. So, he's another one of these young guys that's going to be around for a while. And all the Dodgers can't develop hitting prospects narrative over the last 18 months or so might be in for a rough few months if Pajes and Rushing start to figure this out.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, but that'll do it for the Blue Review. Just real quick, Jeff, tell us all about your spot at Dodger Blue.
Yeah, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, just head over there now, subscribe. We post-game interviews. We do live shows Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, as well as some content. We have an interview with Andy McCullough, who wrote the Clayton Kershaw book, on Kershaw's return, on Austin Barnes' DFA. So that'll be posting, I believe, tomorrow morning. So, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you for always being here on Friday. Hey, Kershaw Day tomorrow. Excited for that. Look forward to your boy Kershaw coming onto the mound. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Have a great weekend, and stay tuned for Travis and DeMarco, or Andy and DeMarco today.